Hi everybody, my name is Jeremy Siskind. I'm the author of Playing Solo Jazz Piano, the Jazz Piano Fundamentals series, as well as 2 editions now of solo standards for piano. And let's just describe this book for a second. This is 8 arrangements of jazz standards. Liza, More Than You Know, Without a Song, You Do Something to Me, What Is the Thing Called Love, Honeysuckle Rose, Stardust, G Baby, and I Good to You. And these are all done in the styles of your favorite pianists: Oscar Peterson, Dave Brubeck, Marion McPartland. They're not like, the 11, it doesn't say that they're in a particular style, but we're writing them in a style that's going to sound like your heroes. So it's a great way to have fun playing these arrangements that sound great, and also get your fingers into some new patterns and some new kinds of voicings so that you start to feel new ways to be at the piano. Speaking of which, this lesson is about something that I get asked about a lot. Everybody wants this sound of the double notes, the double stops on the piano. That's your bluesy piano sound of Gene Harris, Oscar Peterson, Monty Alexander, other greats. And, even if you're not interested so much in jazz, if you're interested in bluesy piano, your Jerry Lee Lewis. I kept on going there and thinking Jelly Roll Morton, but that's a whole different thing. Theoretically, actually quite a simple thing. In terms of execution, not so easy, but I'm going to show you some of my favorite tips and tricks. And by the end of this video, you should have a pretty good understanding. Let's dive in. Okay, so everything we're going to do here is going to be based in the blues scale. Some people call it the minor blues scale. I'm just going to refer to this as the blues scale. If you're not familiar with this scale, boy, there's a lot of information out there, and this is a great scale to know. So this is the C blues scale. Okay, so all the improvisation that I'm going to do today and that I recommend that you do with this concept is going to be based on that scale. Enough so. So some important tips. First of all, and here's the most misunderstood thing about getting this sound right, is that we want to put these notes on top of a main melody. Okay, so I'm going to show you, but if we're putting in a double note, I'm going to have one part that I'm considering the main melody. Let's just demonstrate. And I'm gonna, so watch my fingers, see where that melody is. And I'm gonna add that double note on top of the main melody. And then in general, those double notes, the notes creating that double stop, are going to be held longer than the notes below. And you do want to actually physically hold them with usually your pinky. Do you see that my pinky's staying down on that note? Now sometimes you can repeat that double note, but it's just going to be a slightly different effect depending on versus holding it. So both are good, but I lean a little more towards holding it. And these are going to be more useful for descending, like descending melodies that go down the piano rather than for ascending. It's possible for both, but it feels a little more awkward when we're ascending because, at least here's my theory, the main melody starts to approach those double notes when it's going up. That's my experience anyway. Okay, now there's a lot of possible notes that you can use on double notes, but you will get basically everything you want if you use the root, the minor third. I'll specify that there, I just wrote the third, but here we're talking minor third, and the sixth. And the sixth is the weird one because that's not actually a note in the blues scale. we're going to borrow this from the major key. So in the key of C, that's going to be C for the root, E flat for the third, and then A for that major six. Again, don't be confused. That A is not in our C blues scale. So that's a little bit funky, but you're going to hear that it sounds great. Let's see. Did I do this correctly? Okay, so the first thing that I would do is I would practice your blues scale going down, adding these double notes above. You are absolutely going to have to change your fingering, right? Usually if I were playing this this scale, I would go 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice and easy. Or maybe 5, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2. I hope you all are at your piano when you're watching this and you can experiment. Can't do that if I'm going to use a double note. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the A on top, and that's going to hold. And I am physically holding it. I'm emphasizing this because I work with a lot of students live and via Zoom, and everybody lifts that pinky when they play the next note. So don't be like that. Hold that top note. And then I'm going to use the E flat for the next two. And so if you watch my fingering, and I'll do it in octave, I have to cross over that thumb. I'm bringing my second and my fourth finger over the thumb. So it's this kind of alternation on the bottom part between 2 and 1, which allows the other fingers to trail along. Okay, so then I'm going to use my root here and then back to my sixth here. So if I were to write my fingering, of course, everybody, has slightly different fingering experiences. But here's what I do. That's a G flat. Sorry, it's a little messy. I think it's again 4-2. Let me see if that's right. Sorry, it's going to be a 5 right there. Actually, I prefer 5. 5 is a little more comfortable than 4 for me as well here. Okay, and then the second line is here. For those of you who are ready, who are interested in something more advanced, one of the great things about these double notes is that they combine beautifully with what I call terms. This is a very important jazz ornament. And this is a great thing to practice in all 12 keys. And then so the concept of the turn is that you're going to ascend one note in the scale and then return back to the original note. So I'm going to show you 2 rhythmic ways to practice this. This would be and now the fingering I'm doing for each one is 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. There's not really much other possibility there. So that's cool. And then what's really cool, and I'm not going to try to notate this because it's a little easier to feel than to notate, is so what am I doing there? That's a very Oscar Peterson thing to do. I'm essentially alternating between... Wow, my writing's getting wacky. I'm alternating between a quarter note and an eighth. So it forms this 3/8 note group, right? 1, 2, 3, which we often call hemiola in music lingo. And so this is kind of a little phrase that goes across that bar line, right? It doesn't fit evenly into a bar. And then I'm adding in the turn, and of course I'm adding in the double note. And so, we're doing a lot here. We're doing double note, turn, hemiola, all in one, and that's why it sounds so great. If it helps for you to see me play that bigger, I don't know how that's going to help you with the rhythm, but it's that. So I would start with this. Make sure you can do that hemiola, and then you got to add in the turn, and you have to fit in the trip. You have to fit it all in to the rhythmic. I don't know how many beats. I can't do that math. And it is my tendency to hold that first note a little longer than the others, right? I'm not playing. So I'm not exactly sure how I would notate the rhythm. Being totally honest, I'm pretty good at notating rhythms. That one's pretty funky. Okay. So those would be some exercises to do that you could do with any blues scale. And then in these last few lines, what I've done is I've written some very short little blues phrases. So the next thing that I would do to practice this concept is I would play or write a blues phrase, and then I would figure out where I could use double notes above that blues phrase. And usually we're aiming for the double note to be about a fourth or a fifth above the note. So you guys all see where I am? I'm right here. Sounds like I'm gonna play Hey Big Spender maybe. So if I were gonna add a double note, it would probably just be over the E flat and the F. I would add the A natural, the sixth, over those two. Okay. Next one, number 2. So this is doing a lot of ascending, which is why it's a little bit tricky. But yeah, that's exactly what I would do. I guess I'm harmonizing the same note again, but I would harmonize those E flats with an A. And you might have noticed that I'm also doing a little grace note slide kind of a thing into the E flat, and that's so nice to combine a grace note with these double notes. Yeah, right? Nice. Okay, let's look at number 3. This is doing a lot of descending, so this I should have more options on. So I would hold a C twice. And then I would hold the C on the downbeat, and maybe if I want to, I'm going to repeat it on the E flat. The reason I'm not going to the A there is that that tritone is really dissonant for the last held note of the phrase. So I might not do it there. I don't know if it's wrong. All right, and then this last one. Man, right? Killing phrases. Yeah, I would add A's above the E flat. It's a little less obvious on that next. Okay, so this is controversial. I'm going to go outside my rules. I'm going to use an F to harmonize the C. and then I'm going to harmonize the B flats with a E flat. I don't know. You know, I like the sound of the E flats above this. So it's going to be something like this, and I'm always holding the top note. Maybe something like that. All right, we covered a lot of ground there. I hope you learned a lot. So a few things to review. So first of all, we're using the blues scale when we're making these additions. We're having a main melody and then putting the double note on top of that melody. We want those double notes to be physically held down by the pinky, sometimes the fourth finger. We're going to use it more for descending, and I would encourage you to focus on the root, minor third, and then the major sixth as your primary double notes. To practice, play a short phrase and then add the double notes to the short phrase, trying to figure out what feels good. Where do you want to add a grace note? Where do you want to add a turn? So all that is going to get you using these double notes and sounding bluesy ASAP. All right, if you watched this far, why don't you comment using the word double somewhere in your comment? And if this is a good level for you, I could imagine you might enjoy, you kind of, like some people who are enjoying this might like Jazz Piano Fundamentals Book 1, where you're learning some of the real basics of jazz piano. And some folks might be learning, ready to learn from Jazz Piano Fundamentals Book 2, where you're getting more into specific stylistic things. So up to you, you know your level. But bye. Okay, speaking of which, bye-bye. Take care.